Me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, review and approve the agenda. I have one addition. We have a fraud risk assessment to add to the agenda a little later on here. Any other changes or additions?
I make a motion to approve the agenda with the changes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay. Next item is the Chittenden Watershed Citizens Concern. And one thing before we get into that, anyone that is going to speak tonight, I'd appreciate it if you'd use the podium so that your voice can be heard by everyone here and back on PEGTV when they replay this. So, and let me get the first one we have on our sheet here is the Chittenden Selectboard, and
that would be me.
Big B. Oh, Gina?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi.
Fine. Hi.
I'm Gina Ottaboni. Thank you in advance for putting me on your agenda and allowing me to speak to you tonight. So I'm here in my capacity as a select board member representing the town of Chittenden. As you all know, Proctor Town Forest is in the town of Chittenden. So it's a special place for all of us. In many ways, it's a community resource. And I think it's a special place for all Vermonters as well. So, it is a place for birders and foragers and hunters, for day hikers and through hikers, for snowmobilers, and even for historians. There are a couple of historic charcoal kilns on the property. They have some significant value in terms of Vermont's history. There's also a really interesting ecological resource, Boiling Spring, which if you haven't been to it, do yourself a favor, maybe not right now, wait until the summer, wait until the thaw, and hike up there. It's a really interesting natural feature. Of course, there are timber resources, as you know, there's flora and fauna, and then there are the water resources, which sustained Proctor for many years. In addition, those water resources, and I know you know all this, but I will just sort of want to share what it means to us. There's some of that water flows into Kiln Brook, into Furnace Brook, some of the best fishing in the state. About 1.5 miles down the road, Furnace Brook goes right into the fish hatchery. And then, of course, those waters flow out into Otter Creek and into Lake Champlain. So this is land that has communal value, recreational value, ecological value, historical value, not just for the people of Chittenden or the people of Proctor, but for everybody nearby and really for all Vermonters. I am here tonight to tell you that I understand, as a select board member, the need to balance the budget and to find money without raising taxes. So if you want to sell that land, we understand that. We would just like to ask that, this all came up fairly suddenly, that maybe given these concerns, if you will give a little thought to them and work with us to try to find a solution that will get you the money you need if you decide to sell it, but also protect some of these long-standing, it's been a space that's been utilized by community members for many, many years. And so we have an interest in protecting that and in protecting the watershed and protecting the historic resources. To that end, we've been talking to Kate Warner, who with your permission, I would like to give the rest of my time to her. She is an expert from Trust for Public Land, and she has put together some options for you, other than an outright sale to a private owner, just so you can think about them. And, again, we would love to find a solution that works for you, and hopefully that would also work for community members and all Vermonters.
Sure. Does anyone have any questions for Gina right now, or?
Thank you for coming down.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for having me, and I'll turn it over to Kate.
Sure, thank you.
Hi, so I'm a project manager with the Trust for Public Land. We are a national conservation organization that works with communities, the state, and the federal government to conserve land that's important to them. So we've worked with Green Mountain National Forest over the last 20 years on conserving more than 30,000 acres by adding it to the Green Mountain National Forest. Right now I'm involved in 3 separate projects with them. One you may have heard of in Chittenden, Killington, and Mendon, adding about 2,700 acres to the National Forest called Ralston Rest around South Pond above Chittenden Reservoir, as well as another inholding in Lincoln and Warren, and one down in Wallingford. And Green Mountain National Forest is very interested in this property. They're interested in owning this property, and we'd be willing to work with you and with them to buy it from you. It does take a couple years to make that happen, but I'd be happy to delve deeper into the details of how we would make that happen if this is something that the Select Board would consider. Because that would not only get you fair market value for the property as determined by an appraisal, but would also protect the public benefits that this property has been providing for the last 80 years. One of the things that both Green Mountain National Forest and the Trust for Public Land particularly are interested in about this property is the fact that it has the Long Trail, National Recreation Trail going through it, as well as the Catamount Trail, the statewide system for cross-country skiing. And it's very unlikely Catamount Trail would be able to find a new spot if the property were sold privately and a new landowner would shut off public access, which he would have all right to do. So I've put together some details about a sale to Green Mountain National Forest. And I also provided some information about 5 other conservation options. Both the Select Board, myself, and Green Mountain National Forest, as well as Vermont Land Trust, all think the best conservation option and outcome for this property would be in addition to Green Mountain National Forest. I also think it'd be the best for the town of Proctor in terms of getting you full fair market value for the property. But there are also other options, including potentially Chittenden owning the property as a town forest, restricting the property with an easement before you put it on the market or sell it to a private entity, with either a easement with Vermont Land Trust or an easement with the state through the Forest Legacy Program, or donating an easement to either Vermont Land Trust or the state before selling it to a private entity. So addition to Green Mountain National Forest, at a minimum would take 3 years, but I understand kind of, you're still mulling over kind of whether you even want to sell it at all, and we're happy to engage with you either now or 2 years from now or 10 years from now if you decide to sell it. And the price would be based on an independent appraisal that determines fair market value, and they would do a full timber cruise at the time too, and how that incorporated into the price.
Great, well, no, we certainly would be interested to.
I'm happy to
Okay.
come and meet with all of you again to get down into the details of what that could look like, if you'd like. And I'm also happy to answer any questions now about a potential national forest ownership.
I guess, Mike, I have a question. I'm just curious if the town of Chittenden or you, the trust, has contacted the potential owner just to see what their plans are, or if there's something that you yourselves could negotiate if the property were sold to that person as far as an easement.
We are happy to work with a private owner about an easement. I think that it is dangerous for the town to sell to a private owner without restrictions in place already. Without some legal commitment ahead of time, they can not move forward with any verbal commitment to allow the public or to continue to maintain it as forest. This property is considered by Vermont Conservation Design, which was completed by Vermont Fish and Wildlife in 2015, to be one of the highest priority interior forest blocks because it is surrounded by Greenmount National Forest. Any kind of fragmentation of that property through development or wind towers or even kind of very significant logging could impact the larger forest. So I think that it would be much better to restrict it before, or otherwise have some sort of legal agreement before that happens.
And just to answer the other part of your question, the town of Chittenden has not contacted Mr. Gerlach. Time certainly has been an issue, but also he's been working through his lawyer, who did come to our select board meeting last night. So we did ask him some questions, but no.
Because my concern is, like, even if you put restrictions on it or a covenant saying, this is what you do with the land, that down the road, the purchaser can basically say, I want that removed, and oftentimes it is removed, so it doesn't really play a...
Well, a permanent conservation easement cannot be removed. Permanent
Right.
conservation easement stays with the land and is recorded in the...
Right, the easement piece, but I'm saying like a
Right.
restriction, like say we restrict them from putting up solar, or putting up windmills, that they can actually move later to say, we want these restrictions moved, and most chances are they will be removed.
Which is why I recommend permanent public ownership or a permanent conservation easement prior to sale to a private entity.
Any other questions for these two gals? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I guess just take a, yes.
We're from Rutland County, Ottaboni, and we have concerns also. Could we go at this portion? It would seem to make more sense than for you to go on.
Excuse me, could you use the mic, please?
Yes, yeah.
Well, I'm just
You
asking
get-
permission to speak. May I speak?
Sure, yes.
There are three of us, so we'll only take a few minutes.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Guinness from Rutland County, Audubon. And the three of us are here from Rutland County, Audubon. If you may not know, but, excuse me, our mission is to preserve and protect birds and their habitats as well as other wildlife that are part of the ecosystem of the birds. So we want to thank Proctor for their good stewardship of the parcel of land, which is a watershed and vital to both nesting and migrating birds. And we want to thank you for allowing us to speak here tonight. For over 5 years, we've been monitoring an acreage adjoining the parcel in question, and we have identified 69 species of birds there. Those include the wood and hermit thrush, which many people really love, and which are in decline, and many beautiful wood warblers, which travel thousands of miles to nest there. This number also includes 10 of the 12 birders' dozen, which are birds that Audubon has identified as being in decline. and 16 of the 40 birds of responsibility for Audubon, which are birds of concern but not yet in serious decline. We would assume that the acreage in question is habitat for that many species, meaning 69 or more, and if not more, and it being a watershed, it's very important to provide fresh and clean water for the birds there. So to sum up, our concern is that this vital watershed area be preserved and not disturbed. If it's to be sold, there would need to be restrictions on it that you've already spoken of, and for birds and other wildlife. Thank you. Here are two other members from Audubon to speak their concerns. Thank you.
Hi there. So, as a long-distance through hiker, I can speak to the importance of solitude within interior habitat zones. It seems appropriate to maintain current conservation of this parcel and preserve the wilderness experience that many tourists, hunters, and nature lovers alike seek. And it would also maintain habitat connectivity when many areas grow increasingly fragmented and impacted. I hiked the Long Trail this fall, passing through Mount Carmel State Forest, which abuts this zone. I recall a rich forest of abundant bee-filled asters and piles of moose pellets along the path.
Could you state your name?
Name?
Oh, my name's Anya Beal.
Hello, my name is Joel Tilley. I live in Poultney, and I'm a longtime member of the Green Mountain Club and the Catamount Trail Association, as well as Audubon. These groups are dedicated to conserving land for wildlife habitat, public recreation, hunting, fishing, forest management. I've skied and hiked and birded in this area, and protecting the birds and their habitat is very important to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, by show of hands, any, okay, Justin Lindholm, yes.
I'm Justin Lindholm from Mendon. You can call me Don Quixote because I'm always thrusting against wind turbines. And I've worked for 10 years now to try to stop irresponsible renewable energy. Now, that does not mean I want to stop renewable energy. I am all in favor of most solar and some wind. Smaller wind I love, not a problem. But industrial wind is massively destructive. It's always up on the ridge lines in Vermont. Other states, it's not. Other states, it's on flat plains. They don't have to blast at all. Some property I own over in Leominster, New Hampshire, they bragged about using 1 million pounds to blast that mountain down for just 12 wind turbines. Lowell Mountain won't even tell us what they used. That's how bad it is. Now, I'm concerned about being in this investigation of wind turbine sites before and after they're constructed. I've got a good feel for where they can be. And it is a very viable spot up on your high ridge on the top of your 1,600 acres. This area, why it's so viable is because it has the perfect elevation of 2,000 to 2,100 feet. When you're up at that elevation, you can get the wind, but you're not too high to freeze up the blades on the wind turbine. So they like to keep an elevation down like that, but it's still high. The wind can be grabbed from the south, the southwest, the west, the northwest, and the north in that area. These are all the predominant winds in Vermont. Very rarely do winds come out of the east in Vermont. And these winds are unobstructed by any mountains all the way across Champlain Valley, basically, on this piece of land you folks have up there. This ridge that I'm talking about, that is on your land, overlooks Chittenden Reservoir, which is the most beautiful scenic spot in Chittenden. It is one of the most beautiful scenic spots in the entire state of Vermont. And these things will be looming over it. I have a place on Chittenden Reservoir, although I don't get to see that ridge. There were a whole flock of geese just landed at my camp, right in front of my camp on the water this evening, a little after 4:30. And they came from the north. most likely they would have come across that ridge. They get torn up by wind turbines. A lot of birds do. We have bald eagles in the area. We won't have to worry about the loons because they don't take off too much in land. They stay on the water. But the bald eagles are flying all over the place, and this year we had 2 of those up there. They get chewed up by these things too. But that's one of the problems. The others are erosion. I was just up on Lowell Mountain 2 weeks ago to check that turbine site out, owned by Green Mountain Power. Lots of erosion up there. They can't seem to get a handle on it. This place, your water resource coming down, is going to be jeopardized by that also. Now, John Gerlich wants to buy this land. He would have easy access to build turbines up there because he already owns the land next to it. And the road system is such that it goes all the way to his ridge, this long ridge that connects from the land he already has to the Proctor land ridge. So that's a special worry for development. Now, he says, John Gerlich says, and I think he's probably a wonderful person. He says he wants this place for solitude for himself. Quiet solitude. He can enjoy not having people intrude on him. Well, there are people on McKinley Road, Mountain Springs Road, Mountaintop, and Chittenden Reservoir. They also want quietude. They also want peace. And these wind turbines make a noise that is actually more than noise, it's a vibration. This vibration travels up to 4 miles. Anybody within 1.5 miles is in deep trouble. Those people on those roads are going to suffer. Not everybody, but some people suffer, just like some people suffer from seasickness and some people don't. I never get seasick. I can roll around on a ship all day long. Doesn't bother me a bit. So that's another thing that we have to worry about. What I would like to see happen, I know the town would want to get maximum dollar. You know, you owe it to your citizens to get a top dollar. I would like to see restrictions. And this would be, one of them could be a 60-foot elevation height for any building. That would be, I don't think your comparisons that you had this land appraised the last time it was appraised, your comparisons don't include wind turbine development. Usually those comparisons are just other big pieces of forested property somewhere, the comparisons they use. So there should be nothing that would hurt the value of this land as it was last appraised or of any recent appraisal. The thing with the restrictions, it'll just prevent the turbines, or you could just say no turbines in the deed going forward. Now, there's one other thing you could do. That is, these turbines, when you have a location that's really top-notch for turbines, that is worth a lot of money to a turbine developer. You could reserve those rights for your town, for your taxpayers, and that these rights, the turbine development rights, would be in conjunction with whatever landowner is there, if you wanted to do it that way. That's if you were after maximum dollar, you could do it that way. I'm not one into maximum dollar. I sold a piece of land once and I took a bath on it to make sure it was preserved. Sometimes you gotta step up to the plate in this world and just do what's right, even if it costs you a little bit of money. And I'm very proud that I was able to do that. In your town plan on page 66, you folks actually put it in bold type. The town of Proctor does not, and underline not, does not support ridgeline wind towers. And I think it would be doing Chittenden a favor that we wouldn't have to battle these people. I think we would win against them if anything ever, and I'm not talking Mr. Gerlash would do it, but you know, he could pass away and then somebody else would own the land, or he could sell it. And then we've got to deal with this in the future. Thank you for letting me speak. Any questions?
Do you know if he has any wind turbines on his property now?
Any what's?
Any wind turbines on his property
No.
now?
No, he doesn't.
So the assumption is that's what
And
you
small
think he's
wind
gonna use
turbines.
the property for?
There's a huge difference between the small ones and those big ones.
Right. But I mean, is that your assumption? It seems like we haven't heard anything about that as far as being the use of the
No,
property.
It's from what I have noticed over the years, looking at these sites, you can pick them out pretty easy after a while.
His current property has an easement on it, has a conservation easement on it.
Okay.
And his previous property he just bought has plenty of easements, which he agreed to. So he's not anti-easement. He did some with Mountaintop Inn. So he has no problem with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, anyone else? Yes, Mr. Mube.
I thought I would wait till everybody else spoke.
Sure.
So if there's anybody else who is planning to speak, I would like to wait till everybody sort of spoke.
Or anybody else that wants to speak on this particular subject? Again.
So I have questions, but my questions are more specific to the select board.
Yes, please.
Would the select board be considering selling the property if this proposal hadn't come forward from Mr. Gerlach, I'm sorry. Was that something that the select board was considering?
I don't remember talking about it.
No.
So the Chittenden select board member mentioned the budget and reductions or balancing the budget. Has the select board looked into how the revenues from this money can be invested or spent? This is watershed money. When we harvest, the revenues can only go for the water. So is it the belief of the select board that this money can be used for general funds?
We haven't discussed that at all.
When will these questions be answered before we continue down this path? I mean, these are questions as a Proctor resident that I find just as important as the concerns that the Chittenden, Menden, Ottaboni have. This is something that we pay $4,000 a year in taxes to have that property. Has a cost analysis been done yet of what it is from harvesting versus what it would be to invest these funds? Because my fear is that, we live in the moment and he says 1.5 and everyone's very excited about that number. But we also have a responsibility to think about those that come behind us. And that's why the property sets are today. Because those that came before you maintained the property sets in current use. There is a harvest plan, timber plan in place. Funds come forward, they can be used for projects, they can be used to pay down the bond, they can be used to make improvements in the water department. So without any of these questions being investigated or the answers brought forward, so this is, the third meeting, and we still don't have those answers. This, while they're concerned, these are bigger concerns for me.
So Stan, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we ask Alan that exact question as to what the revenue could be used for if we did sell the land?
Right. Right now, the auditors, the land is listed as an asset for the water department. The question comes up as to how you can change that. You just change it. As far as the audit is concerned, you could move that asset to something else from an audit standpoint.
Yeah.
From a legal standpoint, whether you would need a vote to move it to someplace else or not, that might be an advisable thing to do.
So I apologize. I thought that was a question that was asked to Alan in our last meeting. So can we ask him that and find that out? Because at least I thought that question had been asked, to be honest with you.
And we did. I think we had a discussion about it because it was partially, basically, once the sale takes place, it's no longer the same asset as it was prior to the sale. So you can do what you want with the money and
That's
disperse
great.
it differently.
So then that brings me to my next question. And I asked this question prior about investment. Because if you have $1.5 million, or if you have $1 million, and you put it in an investment house, it's going to cost you more than $4,000 for a manager to invest and manage your money. At $1 million, it's probably, and it will probably cost more because you don't have investments currently, so you don't have an existing house to invest with. You're going to have to go out and solicit and take proposals. So it could easily cost you $10,000 to pay someone to manage that. That doesn't seem like good financial management. At $10,000 or $9,000 a year to pay someone to manage your money when you're currently expending $4,000 in taxes and you're garnering a revenue.
We're spending a little more than $4,000. We have a forester and a program and everything.
Right, of which that money, I would guess, just like when I harvest here, that's paid from your harvest. So that's not taken from your general fund, that's not budgeted from your water. Those are funds that are taken from that harvest and paid prior to that money is transferred as revenue into the water.
Yeah.
So those
Yeah.
are not funds that is not an expenditure that you are budgeting for currently.
No, no.
And again, this is another question that we had. Edward Jones, we had asked to be here. Are they coming today?
He's not coming.
He's not coming.
He had 2 other appointments, so we're not talking about the first one, so we're not talking about this one.
Well, I just wanted to address your question, because I did, and I'm not an investor by any means, but I did some investigations, basically tried to go, if you did invest the money, depending on the return, and that's the big thing, what's the return going to be? But even at like a 2% return over 10 years, it's almost equivalent to what the timber would get us in 10 years.
But
Based on what we've been told we make for the timber in a 3-year period.
But is that factoring in what you're paying your manager to manage?
Right, but that's minimal. I mean, if you're making like $1 million, $10,000 isn't that much as far as paying them. But what I'm saying is if we
But
looked at,
currently you're expending 4, so
Right.
so if the scales are pretty equal,
right,
and
but,
the expenditure on one side is 10, and the expenditure
Right.
on the other is 4, it doesn't.
but that's what I'm saying. We need somebody here that does investments, because if the return is anything above that, then we're doubling our money in 10 years versus selling timber.
Right, but
So that's
investments are a
what's
gamble, no different than,
And selling timber,
absolutely.
so that's why we need somebody that's an expert
But I think
to
that the
give us
bottom line, the
numbers.
question goes back to, if the proposal hadn't come forward, would we be spending this much time? And is it the goal of the select board, if you sell this property, to take the money and reduce taxes, pay down the water bond, or simply take the money and invest it and hope that the investments garner what you think they will?
We're going to be looking into a lot of that stuff. We haven't done anything. We knew we were going to have this discussion tonight, and we're open. We haven't set our minds on any particular avenue at this time, and
So this is
we will-
3 meetings in with the same questions.
okay.
And I agree.
When we-
I think I'm tired of inviting people to our meetings that
no,
don't show up.
no.
And they're the ones that we're going to base our answers on. And it's frustrating because it means something to us, less than them, obviously. But, like you said, I don't want meeting after meeting after meeting and we just keep going and asking questions and getting more information. It's like we need the details of this kind of stuff before we can,
And I hope
Make
all
a
future
logical
meetings about
decision.
this will be held at a meeting like this. And that if they're held at a special meeting, they're warned properly.
Okay, I guess, Mr. Mube, or anybody else want to speak here before? No, don't see any hands. Yes, go ahead.
So I approached the podium and you with a great deal of fear and trepidation. When I first came, I thought I was bringing good news. Reading the paper, I gather people felt pressured by my passing on and the way I presented it. I apologize to you if anyone felt what I said felt like pressure. I do think I want to clarify a couple things. Mr. Gerlach asked if there was any interest to sell the property, and was told that certainly the select board was interested in trying to figure out what to do with this, and this was an economic decision, what made the best interest, and what was in the best interest of the people of Proctor. And he was told that without an offer, there was no way for you to be able to talk about it until he presented an offer. So he was coming from it as, I want to do something that I think is going to be a good thing. We have had now, we went to the town of Chittenden because somebody is claiming that this could be used for wind turbine. I mean, it could be used as a trash yard too. It could be used for anything. But that's not what the plan is. It's in current use, as you know what it is, so there's a huge consequence if anyone were to ever do anything other than keep it with a good management plan, keeping it in current use. It has to have a logging and a management plan to be able to qualify. So discussions about raping the forest and doing the kinds of things really are not quite anything like what's being proposed. So Mr. Gerlach has been aware that you folks wanted more time to consider it. He wants to get out of the limelight, okay? He thought this was an economic decision that the town of Proctor was going to address. That this is the town of Proctor's assets. It's not the rest of Vermont's. It's your fiduciary duty to handle your assets and treat them appropriately as the voters might like or not like. And the only way to find out about it is for you to say, yes, we think this is a good idea. We accept an offer at a fair price. And if 5% of the people come out, then you have to have a townwide vote for people to decide whether or not this is what is there. If nobody comes out, then you can go forward with the sale. We've been told that there's a right of first refusal on 50 acres to the Green Mountain Club that deals with the Long Trail. You could easily break this into 2 contracts. So everything but the 50 acres is covered in one track, and the 50 acres, if they don't buy it, then Mr. Gerlach would be willing to do it. We would love to have discussions to try to come up with what that is. But this kind of format, this kind of, how should I say, escalating things beyond what we think and what Mr. Gerlach thought he was getting into when he made an offer in response to, yes, please make a proposal to see if you would buy it so that you could, as the select board, make an economic decision based upon what you thought was in the best interest of the people in the community. Mr. Gerlach wants to get out of that approach. Mr. Gerlach doesn't like being under the kind of approach, the spreading his name in a way that's been negative, and the impact of what this has happened. So what I am told to do is to let you know that if we can't begin discussions with your attorney by the 1st of December, so we can actually come up with something that you could present if there were people and voters that were there and you decide what you want to do, then he's going to withdraw his offer and go someplace and do something else. He's not going to leave it out there so you can shop it someplace else. You can make other decisions. He doesn't want to be in this situation. He is prepared to buy it and close as soon as you can give him title and pay you cash of $1.5 million. If that's not something you want to do, just tell him it's not something you don't want to do. It is here to just simply say, this was supposed to be a transaction. It was supposed to be something that was positive. I didn't mean to pressure you in any way when I brought something forth that he sort of felt it was solicited in a way that this was something that the town of Proctor would see as a positive thing, not as a negative thing. It's very sad when these kinds of things happen, and I think it has a negative impact on an awful lot that goes on in this state.
So, Mr. Reed, my only concern is I need to make an informed decision. And I have not yet gotten the answers that I've been asking for. So I have nothing against your client or anything, but I just need answers so I can decide how I'm going to vote.
And I totally understand that he's willing to extend this. If I pick up the telephone, and again, there's a big difference between when you're a select board for a town and when you're a private individual. A private individual could pick up the telephone and call an investment person that says, if I had $1.5 million, what would you forecast using the way people forecast? And you can use bank and trust people. Lots of people handle investments and say, yeah, there are up and downs, but over a period of 20 or 30 years, here's what money growth is if you are investing it. And here's what you're going to spin off for your average income, and here's what your cost is to achieve it. And you can get it. You could go to the People's Bank, you could go to Community Bank, you could go to the Trust Department, which are very conservative people, not a local stockbroker, and say, if we invested the money with you, what is the return? There are also public entities that are involved and can give you information about the cost and what they are. People give money to the foundations that produce all kinds of money to fund conservation projects. I've been involved with lots of conservation projects, the buying of land, the buying of development rights. All of that exists out there, so you can get some good information on investments, which shouldn't take more than a week. At least as a person, if I were picking up the telephone, I could get you all those answers pretty quickly. I just look at it that way, and the way that this has continued. Mr. Gerlach has been seen in all kinds of ways because of the press, because of what's there, and a person that was trying to do what he thought was interest and would fit his long-term interest of what he would like to do with property and where he's currently living and where he'd like to have a retirement place. And all I can say is, it's a tragedy to me to see what has happened out of an effort that was positive.
I have just to say, I agree with Ben as far as not having enough information, and I also feel like as a sweet a deal as he thinks it is, it's not like he's giving us $1.5 million for an acre, and it's like, whoa, this is big. I mean, he's getting 1,600 acres of prime property. And I have trouble not only with the information we've been shared, but the way the contract's been written, and I feel it's very one-sided.
We can
And
change
so-
all the language of the contract, ma'am.
Right, and the numbers, so I feel like it was kind of thrown together, like, hey, here's some property, let's throw 1.5 million at them and go from there.
Well,
So
I can
that's
only
a
tell
little
you,
bit-
I've been involved in large purchases of real estate that are logging, okay? Which is essentially what this is. This is timber. And going rates for places that are not accessible. This is not easily accessible property. It's not anything other than what it is, and even the logging is not that easy to be able to log 1,600 acres. There are many other places that are 1,600 acres that are easier to log, and your per acre price is materially less than what was offered to buy this. So, you know, it is what it is. It was offered to be a more than fair price. If you think it's worth more, just tell us you're not interested and we'll go away.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Ray Alt?
I wasn't going to say anything. I'm Ray Alt, citizen of this town for 40-plus years. I just want to point out that if the town, absent the Gerlach offer, had decided to take this property to market, the average marketing time for this type of property is measured in years, not months. My guess is that it would be on the market for somewhere between 2 and 4 years to attract a buyer. You could luck out and get someone stepping up to the table to go. So that's one factor that I wanted you to take into consideration. The other thing is you should consider having it appraised by a professional appraiser, and that's likely to cost in the vicinity of anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000.
Bill's Grant appraised it in 2015 for 1.5. That's what the offer's based on.
And so you have that appraisal that's 4 years old. You might ask for an update. But I'm not prepared to render an opinion on
Yeah.
I haven't looked at it that close. I was out of town when this all had started to transpire. But, yeah, I'm not taking sides here or expressing an opinion whether we should or shouldn't, but I do think you should be aware of those aspects from a market standpoint.
Thank you, Rick. Anyone else have any comments? Yes, Kate.
Can I add on?
Sure.
Just regarding price, I mean, one of the reasons that I think a sale to Green Mountain National Forest is win-win for everybody is because it keeps it public land, it keeps it intact, and it's the value to the town of Proctor is fair market value is based on an appraisal. And that appraisal will take into account any written offers that you have received for the land in the last couple of years. So that appraisal is gonna know that you have been offered $1.5 million, and that, you know, is, if that's a fair price and an open offer, then the appraisal is gonna reflect that amount. So by selling the Green Mountain National Forest in 2 to 4 years, you can both get the income as well as keeping it public.
Sure. Thank you. Yes.
I just have a statement, and that is that when you factor in your future revenue off of one or the other, either the investment money that you did or the land itself, the land itself generally goes up in price. 10 years from now, it could be double what it is now. We don't know. Land traditionally has gone up in price. So you want to factor that into whether it would be worth it.
So my only comment is, when you spoke to current use, there's no guarantee that you have to pay a fee to take it out of current use.
Yeah, we can't.
There's no guarantee that the property can't be taken out of current use. He simply would have to pay a fee to do that. So when you speak to the fact that it's in current use, it'll remain in current use, I mean...
There's a huge fee.
Yeah, there's a huge fee. But if you're willing to pay $1.5 million for the acreage, it's not unrealistic to think that a fee to take it out of current use is out of bounds. So I just, when you spoke to it, you made it appear as if it's in current use, it'll remain in current use without any objections, and that's not completely true.
Oh. Okay, I don't see anybody else on this subject, so anybody want to make any further things? But I think we need to sit down with and, you know, move this along.
So, we need Alan to answer the question about what the revenue could be used for, and we need at least someone, Edward Jones or whoever, to give us some information. If I have to make the call myself, I will, but those are important questions.
Yeah, let's see what we can schedule for someone to come in this week or early next week.
Well, I don't think you even need us. I mean, at some
No.
point, I think you
Yeah.
need to reach out to an investor
Yeah.
and just say, here's the numbers, do an analysis for us, and then,
Yeah, if you.
And more than one.
Yes. So, we want to have a motion to have Stan make some 2 or 3 inquiries.
So moved, and let's try to get that information next week so that we can take a look at it well in advance of the meeting.
second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the review of our October 28th meeting minutes. Any additions, corrections?
Move to approve the minutes as written.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, everyone, for
Thank you.
coming.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And our November 5th special select board minutes, any additions, corrections?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Open public comment.
Ray?
Ray?
Do I have to go over there?
Yes.
Yes, please.
I couldn't say anything, but I'm probably the poorest man here. And I look at all that money that on.
Introduce yourself.
Huh?
Introduce yourself.
Yes.
Oh, I'm Ray Biet from Proctor. And I think if you just sell it for what you want, after you get done investigating, if you get every bird lover and everybody else in the state of Vermont that wants a piece of it afterwards, that the buyer is going to be not going to buy it. Because this guy, from the way he talked, he wants it himself, not with other people. And $1,010,000, is it?
$1.5 million.
1,500,000? I don't even know how much money that is. But I can't see too many people in the pot if you sell it, because everybody's gonna lose.
You say if we do sell it or if we don't sell it, Ray?
You sell it for what you can get.
Right.
But if you invite the bird watchers and everybody else in the state of Vermont that's involved with it, it ain't gonna work. Because this guy don't want anybody in it. The last guy that spoke.
That's
And you
suspicious.
got an offer here of $1,500,000. Either keep it or sell it as it is. That's my feeling.
Thank you.
And I'm the poorest man in here, too.
Oh.
I just feel that way, that's all.
Yes. Gina?
Hi, thanks. I just wanted to speak to your point, and you might want to look at the minutes of the Chittenden Select Board meeting last night when they get posted. I asked Mr. Noob a few questions, including, so he said, well, Mr. Garlick just wants to, own this property and take care of it and, be a good steward. And I said, okay, well, that's great. Then that means, will he be willing to put some easements on it? And he said, no easements. Mr. Garlick's very private. He's not going to want other people on the land. So just to your
Did
to your
you
point.
directly ask him about wind turbines?
No, but we directly asked him whether or not Gary Congdon, who's the chair, asked him if he had any plans to develop the land, and he said no current plans. And we asked, well, does that mean no plans in the future? And he said no current plans. So that's what we got.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bob, any comments?
My name is Bob Curtis. When I first got wind of the sale for 1.5, my first impression was take the money and run. But then as I got thinking about it, you still can get probably 1.5. And I agree with the lady from Chittenden and the lady from, where was she, from the Green Mountain?
Trust for Public Land.
I would go that route to sell the land. You can sell it to whoever you want. You're gonna end up probably with the same money. And I think she said it might take 2 to 4 years. Well, then I'd knock on Chittenden's door and say, how about give up those taxes of $4,000? We're gonna play ball with you.
You're a smart man. But gosh.
You know, I mean, but I don't think I'd sell it to that individual.
Compared to ours, I pay more taxes on an acre of land than I do for 1,600 acres
Come
of
up.
land.
Diane, come up to the mic.
No, I'm just speaking out loud.
But that's what
But
this
that's
mic
a
is for.
bargain.
Yeah.
Chittenden has a bargain for taxes. $1,600, 1,600 acres.
Come on.
Hear you.
$4,000.
Can't hear you, Diane.
One more thing on the
Yes.
investment. If you invest 1.5, you're gonna be able to take 60,000 a year. And at the end of 30 years, you're gonna have 1.7. I can tell you where.
To respond to your idea, which really is quite brilliant, but as far as I know, it's a state program, and I don't think that we would be able to do that. Nor do I think that it would be an awfully tough sell. I mean, you can imagine that sell here. So, but it's creative.
You have any comments, more comments, Diane?
Denise.
Denise, rather. Don't mind me. Excuse me.
Okay.
Oh. Okay.
Ray Holt wants to talk.
Ray, anything you wanted to add?
Was there gonna be not on this subject?
No, okay. Well, this is anything, right? We're going into, we're into public comment, so.
Well, I was unable to finish reviewing the documents that our town manager graciously forwarded to me earlier today relating to the renovation of the town office, and I thought perhaps you were going to have a discussion about the status of that tonight, and I would then react to that.
That would be all right. And you can
Yeah,
speak to
sure.
that.
Okay.
That was next on the agenda anyway.
Not gonna be here, so there's.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, then you have a
Disagree.
letter from,
Would you
Ed Clark?
take that later on, when it comes
Okay.
up on the agenda,
Yep.
under budgeting,
yes,
rather than do it now.
okay,
I made a mistake with Ed. He told me last Thursday he wasn't gonna be able to make it, but I didn't change the agenda. I should have wiped it off, so.
That wouldn't hurt to talk about it a little bit.
I agree.
He's not here to answer things, though, I don't think we'll get anywhere talking about it.
okay, good stuff.
I want to say, I think that the event that they had here at the library the other day for Nancy Hunter Kennedy was really awesome, that she got in the paper, and so did our library, and I think it was a really good recognition of her, because she's a very sweet lady, and she's done a lot and stuff, so I think
Yes.
that was great. And also that the Proctor girls were soccer champions once again, so that was good.
Any other good news that anybody wants to bring up?
Well, I'll do a shameless
Sure.
plug.
Okay.
We did our production of Peter and Wendy, our fall play. And in one night, we had more people than were there for both productions last year. And actually literally sold out. We ran out of chairs and people were sitting on bleachers. So our little theater program is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger.
Great. That sounds great.
I wanted to throw in.
Sure.
The weather was horrendous, but the kids were having a great time sliding this afternoon. So the good stuff is the kids found something to do.
Yes.
Yeah, not their phones.
Yes. Okay, Highway Department, Stan.
Well, you got the report and you've had it, and most of the stuff is repeat that we do every 2 weeks. The big thing is the getting ready for the winter, and we had it
Ready or
today.
not.
We had it today. So getting the service and the trucks going. One thing that John has taken on is stopping by Beaver Pond Dam on a frequent basis, just to be sure that it's there and going. And as I think you knew, he dropped the boards down to wash out some of the leaves and the pine needles that were coming up. So he's taken a responsibility for making sure that things keep going on. And the FEMA storm damage, we sent in our second batch of papers today, and now we're on to the third batch. And again, as I said, the Jeff Small, who working with us, is very good. He's doing it one piece at a time, doesn't burden us with having to have it all done at once. So it's going good.
Great. The alternative grant was?
The alternative grant is I've talked with Scott Robertson at the state, and he is getting back to me. He thinks the sidewalk along South Street is a qualifying project. So we will do that one. The stairs up the hill, I sent him a bunch of maps this afternoon to show him what we're talking about. He'll probably get back to me in the morning once he has a chance to look at it. But I will have those applications, if they're ready, on your table before the 22nd that they have to go in.
The traffic ordinance?
What I put in your packet were the areas that I thought should have signing, and we need to add Kane Street to it. That's the only one that I thought I left off, but if you had any other suggestions, I think the question regarding Park Street and special events, I think we need to look at how to allow special events to take place and what type of protocol was required to do it. If we put no parking on Park Street,
No problem.
we've got to cover the special events with some type of activities.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not gonna fly.
And I don't have any suggestions at the point as to how you would do it, other than with the school district working with the fire chief and the sheriff's department to have a safe period for so many hours during an event. I assume that your play probably taxed the parking capacity of the parking lot and the street also.
I'm guessing, I was in the gym, so I don't know. Yeah.
You didn't go out and check the traffic?
No, I didn't go out and do a traffic survey.
But I
Yeah,
know
no.
basketball games will back it up in other events, so. I guess what I'm looking for is whether there's any other areas in town that you feel are safety issues because of parking, besides the ones of the school and Kane Street. If not, then I will proceed and try to put this thing to bed and get it done.
Judy, in the city, is there like 3-hour parking or something like that that might solve that problem?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's, they do like certain, 3-hour parking. They even swap parking on one side of the street to the
Right.
other, depending on what's going on and stuff like that. So that's what I was wondering, like, if you could do like even a special events permit for like winter sports, so that they submit it once, but it's like during all these games, they're allowed to park, or during a play, or, anything like that, they're allowed to park on those sides.
Yeah, and the other question is whether they would be requiring somebody out there to direct traffic,
Right.
and whether you can buy your parking place. Maybe the Boosters Club can sell parking places.
I mean, that'd probably be a good night to have like the police on hear from those hours, you know, like extend or change their hours so that they're covering the sports and stuff like that. I don't know.
But that's gotta be written into the plan.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we have sporting events, we have a deputy on site. And I guess looking at Park Street, wouldn't it make sense just to not allow parking on the school side of Park Street?
Yeah.
And that way, you don't have to go through special events.
Right.
You don't have to have 100 signs put up. I mean, I guess common sense dictates that you shouldn't be parking on people's front lawns where there isn't pavement along the school side and in front of the tennis courts and like that, because it kind of goes up, there's a bit of a hill.
Yep.
It would seem like you could put up a sign, no parking from here to corner, and probably the same at the end of the parking lot on the south end, so you couldn't park from Frank's house like to Pecor's house on that side. I mean, that seems like the most obvious without having to worry about, are you gonna have to have someone there? I mean, are you, are we going to have the town's deputy there, the school have a deputy there? Are we going to have a tow truck on site because if somebody parks there, are we towing them? It seems like there's a lot of logistics that 4 signs might be able to.
Wasn't that a problem though last year? Didn't people complain about people on Park Street parking on the sidewalk all the time instead of in their driveway?
They still do it.
Yeah.
So,
So the problem with the sidewalk on Park Street, and we've spoke about this multiple times here, is you drew a line with a can of paint down the side of the street. And your sidewalk does not bring you to a crosswalk. It actually dumps you out into a grate in front of Sanderson's old house on the corner of Park and Grove. There's no and the conversation here was instead to put a crosswalk across from, I can't remember that again, but maybe like by Albert Winter's to the front walk to the high school. But for the longest time, I don't think people even understood that that was a sidewalk, because the first line that you drew was with a white can of paint and the line was about this wide. The line is now wider, but it's part of the pavement that you've drawn a line over.
And I wouldn't, for the most part, it's my impression that the people that are parking there live there. And they do put up with a lot as far as people drop off, pick up,
right.
games, stuff like that. So I get their frustration as well, that they should be able to park in front of their house.
But it's illegal to park on the sidewalk for anybody.
Right.
So, but my concern is more like winter, because it's basketball season, then winter they can't park because of the parking ban and plowing, and my concern is more those people because they park all night long, whereas games, they just come and go.
Yeah, they're gone by
Yeah.
8:30, yeah.
I think, the sidewalk on Park Street on the west side probably should be delineated in your traffic ordinance as a sidewalk, rather than a striped whatever it is, because people have complained that this isn't a sidewalk because it's just part of the pavement, and you got a fog line on it, and I can park on my side of the fog line. And I think it needs to be designated a sidewalk in order to get any action.
And I remember exactly the conversation that Lisa's talking about, and my question is always, does anybody even use that as a sidewalk?
No, because they use along the tennis courts. When kids get out of school, they walk from the tennis courts, because that has a crosswalk that takes you across to Grove Street's new sidewalk. I mean, that was one of the reasons we put the new sidewalk in there and removed the trees and did all of that so that there was a nice sidewalk there that was usable.
Yeah, do you want to work on that a little?
Well, this was one piece that I was looking for.
Yeah.
But if you got other streets that you feel should be, or sections of streets that are a safety hazard.
So I guess I'm just gonna throw it out there. Do we have to have that line painted? Can we just have that not be a sidewalk? Can it be the shoulder?
You just take the line off, it's just part of the road.
Yeah. And then people can park there. And, because I mean, my classroom overlooks that sidewalk. I never see kids walking there unless they live across the street and they just go right across the street and go to their house. They cut through the yards. They don't walk in that little area.
Yeah.
If they were to, if you were to make that sidewalk, they just park up beyond that, and that's what's happened down on the corner of North and School Street. There's a big truck that is parked not on the sidewalk, and you have to drive around him, and when you're coming down, you have to be very careful. That's a tight corner, and we're like, the guys, it takes up the entire road. And
That's on our list, that's on our list of no parking.
Yeah, that's,
It's right there.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's a problem.
We're putting signs, no
Yeah,
parking
that's
all the way
on there.
down there because of,
Thank you.
because of them.
Because that,
Because of that.
anything else for Highway Department? Hearing none, motion to go into the Board of Water Commissioners.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You got that in the packet?
I got that in the packet. Activities are going along reasonably well. The Patch Street hydrant is still, they don't know why it isn't working. Investigate further. It's on John's list to make sure that we try to get an answer for that.
Anything else on that list that anybody has a question with? Oh, okay. And that's kind of Simon's report. Okay. Water system improvements. We've got a number of things on that, including signing the loan agreements.
This is the loan for contract 6, $805,069. What you need to do is to accept the loan agreement, which then Bruce would sign and Celia would sign. The other thing is the bond schedule. If you look at how you're gonna pay back $805,000. If you look at the schedule, you're doing it at $7,000 a year for 30 years. What they've done is that they have given you forgiveness. They've changed the program. No longer do they do zero interest. No longer do they do a negative interest, they do a zero interest. And so the first item on there is a substantial lump sum payment that brings it down so that the annuals are $7,000 a year, which is very kind of them. They're changing the program.
Yeah, I think it makes it a lot simpler to
wrap your head around.
digest.
But there's two motions I think you need. One is to accept the loan from the Vermont State Revolving Fund, loan RF 3-363-3.0 of an amount $805,000.
motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion.
Second it?
All those in favor?
Aye.
And this is the last
This is the rest of the money, yeah.
long drawn out.
This wipes out your bond money. And then I've got signature spots for people to do. So if I can catch people before we leave, I will get signatures.
Yes. Okay, we got our delinquent account list all on one page, and any questions?
I did draw the line at $1,000.
Yep.
So that even though there are some that, like I explained before, that have agreements that have been paying down on it, I've crossed them off. If they stop paying, they will be there. There are a number of no's on here as of the end of October that need to be addressed.
So how many of the no's have been shut off now?
Nobody has been shut off to date.
I thought we were gonna do a few before we couldn't.
Well, these we can do anytime, can't we?
These we can do anytime.
Oh, so we're gonna continue then?
Yeah, and they can be shut off in the wintertime. They can be whatever.
So, because we're gonna warm up a little bit next week. So
Next week,
let's get these on the list and get some of these really high ones.
Yes, let's try a few.
Hopefully, we've got, those are marked, so they shouldn't be a big problem taking care of those.
Number 10, we realize there's an issue there, but I'd like the water department to come up with some kind of a plan.
Yes, and as I say, that's been on my agenda to knock on the
Well, I
door
mean,
to say
yeah,
hi.
you're busy enough. The water guys can come up with a plan.
Oh, no, this is collecting debt. The water guys, there's no way of shutting it off right now.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, there's gotta be a physical way of changing the pipes around,
Oh, yeah.
so we
okay.
can shut it off.
We could go in.
And those guys are experts on pipes.
Yep.
Right?
You're right. If you're talking about construction, then we can do it, yeah.
Well, I'm talking about fixing a problem here.
Probably something.
Which would be to put in a new service line for,
Yeah.
separate
Well,
service line.
let's ask the experts. I mean, there must be, one or two options, isn't there?
There's a 2-inch pipe that comes from North Street up
Yeah.
where,
Well,
Tom
let's-
Grace's,
Okay, would you ask them?
and that goes
please?
down and breaks into 3 lines, yeah. Yes, we can put in a separate line for each one of them.
I think what Tom's asking is see if there's other options. Let's just tell them the problem and say, what can we do?
Yeah. Give them a little
Come up
credit.
with a plan, and maybe we'll have to wait till spring, but,
No,
Right.
I mean, it's been on my table to
yeah.
stop it and talk with them.
Yep.
The alternative is to put it on a tax sale. But I haven't stopped in and talked with them. Mechanically, it would be a matter of putting in new service line, which is worth more than what we got in here.
So what would you suggest then?
Like I've been saying I was gonna do, which I haven't done, which is stop in and talk with them. And threaten them with a tax sale. I did talk to a woman on North Street and told her she was gonna get a new agreement, that the one she has now envisioned a large lump sum payment, which never materialized, and that she is not keeping up her end of it. She's paying her monthly, but the monthly will never get there.
No, she's gonna keep getting behind.
50 is not number 9, yeah. Okay. And her response to that was?
I mean, she's open to it. She still thinks she's gonna get some money, but we need to put a larger number in her monthly payment. And then if she can get somebody to help her make her monthly payment.
So we can get a few more shut off this month.
Yeah, well, we can shut them off anytime.
Then why aren't we?
Why aren't we? Because that's not the top thing on my priority list.
So
Yeah, but
what
you aren't the
about-
one that goes out and turns a wrench.
What about number 40? I mean, if we're speaking to number 9 and the $50 a month, number 40 is also
Yeah.
$50 a month. I mean, if we're gonna speak to that person, we need to.
That should be twice a month, I think.
That,
Let me check that one,
that'd be good.
because $50 a month isn't gonna pay it all.
No.
Anything else on that list that? Anything else for water?
Dan said there were 2 motions for the loan, you only made one, what was the other motion?
Oh, yes.
point. It's on the last page of the handout. Motion that the municipality has caused this bond to be signed by its treasurer and a majority of the select board, and its seal to be affixed thereto.
Is that the resolution? Is that what you're looking at?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So moved.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Sorry about that. Okay. Motion to go into Board of Sewer Commissioners.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
What I put on your desk is a email from Wayne Elliott regarding the liner and the sludge. And I think I mentioned at the last meeting is that the Simon feels they can handle the repairing the liner. But what Wayne is talking about is drawing it down further in the spring and doing an assessment of the liner as to how much it is.
You said that was 30 years old, that liner.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a good idea.
So this was his response to the question that was raised last time about what to do, and the thing is to start talking about doing it.
So the repair is 20,000. But this will give us an idea of what the
They
replacement.
do it, if Simon does it, you can knock off the 9,000 of labor. And just buy the materials.
Yeah, and the sludge is on there too, so,
Yes.
yeah, that's,
To be ready for this.
Do you have a rough idea, Stan, ballpark, what it would cost to get rid of dried sludge?
No. That's what I was looking for Wayne to come back with a proposal. What he did is he said we should contact rural water. Be less expensive to do it, to get the advice.
Okay. You'll give them a call?
Yeah.
anything else for sewage? Hearing none, let's return to the select board. I think everybody has signed the orders. We have a facilities use.
Didn't get it, Ben.
It said it faxed. That is weird.
That's what CFC was waiting for, and we didn't get it.
Huh.
I thought it would show up today, but I thought maybe you hadn't sent it.
No, I think we have enough time. We can do it next meeting.
Oh, okay.
I faxed it from our copier. It said it went through, so I don't know what happened.
Huh.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Gary and Ben, have you got anything on your police services?
Still looking for some members to that and still waiting, Stan, we're still waiting for the copy of the sheriff's contract.
We get get that to you?
Perfect.
That'd be great.
Okay, Chittenden Watershed, anything we've got to, I think everything is, you're gonna,
I think what, is to, what do you do with how much can you earn for the 1.5 million?
Yeah.
An investment plan, an investment policy.
And what we can do with it, and,
Where do the funds go?
yeah, where do the funds go?
Yeah, well,
So, I mean, there's some questions for Alan there, and there's questions for,
some
investment.
brokers.
Yeah.
I think, what you can do with it, I think, is up to the board suggesting to the voters, so that you got a firm stand on it. And you would be setting up if you invested it, you'd be setting up a fund to put it into, and then how you spend the fund. And that would be the restriction on setting up the fund.
You were also at a prior meeting where they had an assessment from Wendy about the timber harvest and what that looked like 15 years out. So that's never been provided either. Actually, you said at a prior meeting you had spoken to him and asked him about it.
Yeah, essentially, my last conversation with him was the $1.5 million worth of timber is standing there right now.
Yeah,
We've got 2 logging contracts coming up.
2 parcels, yeah.
And one of them will need to have a road built in order to do either one of them. But he estimates the next contract will be around $300,000. It's gonna cost you $100,000 to build the road. So presumably, you get $200,000 less his commission off that, which is 20%. And then within another 3 or 4 years after this one, there would be another harvest of $300,000, which wouldn't have, which the road would already be built. So I don't have those dollars right now. I'm looking at somewhere between $500,000 over the next 10 years from timber sales.
Right, because I think I remember you talking about it, because I was thinking it was like a 1.2 million that we'd have in 10 years, 12 years, but now with all these deductions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you gotta take money out of it in order to do it.
So,
Yeah.
our next meeting is on the 25th. 6 days from that day, this man's gonna want a decision.
You've made a decision by not making a decision.
But he's gonna withdraw his offer.
Right, he's withdrawing his offer on the 1st, so
We need all this
I-
information next week so that we can make a decision either to proceed or not at our next meeting.
yes, we have to make a decision at the next meeting,
Yes.
what we're doing.
Okay, so, town office, Ray, apparently we,
What I put in your packet was the wall, which is the latest estimate from Wright asking to be paid $17,000 more. You still have the balance to finish of $25,000. You still have the contingency of $6,000. What they have proposed is a change order for the extra work that was required, and I think Jay spells it out in his memo. Item 1 is rebuilding the northeast corner, which had further deteriorated from the time we completed our drawings. This is Jay speaking, and I can recognize that one because I could see that piece of it. Item 2 is for the concrete brick used in rebuilding the wall. The rubble fill material on site was not suitable for reuse. Additionally, the brick produced a sturdier wall, and if you saw that when they had exposed the front piece of it, it wasn't what they expected to see when they put it in. Item 3 is rebuilding the 2 wing walls of the stairs leading up to the porch. These walls were integrated with the stairs in such a way that removing the stairs disturbed them. And he's asking you to approve the change order for $2,847.
So what's his final invoice gonna be? He,
Yeah, he's just gonna make up for lost time here.
His final invoice will hopefully be the last invoice.
But-
The next one will be the final invoice.
yeah, so what's the total?
What's the total?
So
Total
with
contract,
all of these things he's adding, what's the total?
$999,665.
And so is it the 18,970 that we owe still? That we will owe?
Yes.
Does that include change order 1?
That includes change order 1. That's included in the pay estimate he's asked for.
But I don't think that includes that extra 6,700 retainage.
The amount of money that you balance remaining, including the retainage, is 25,700. That's how much he has left to invoice for, and that includes the change order.
Not 18, okay.
And how far over budget is this?
How far over budget? You mean our budget, or?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, his contract is his contract, it's a lump sum. It hasn't changed, other than the change order that we added in.
So it's
It's
$2,847 over what we had.
Over the original bid, yes.
Yeah.
I suggest we give them $2,500 for change order number 1, and they haven't done us any favors with this project. How's the water draining? A good test for it.
The drain was there.
I know the drain was there, I saw it too. How's
The
it
water
draining?
was running off of it before. It didn't run off today very much, but it exposed itself. There was enough hot air coming up out of it to melt the snow around it.
And any word on the railings?
You got the last word I got, which was 4 to 5 weeks, and that was a week and a half ago.
Are they gonna be able to do them
Yes.
with
Yeah.
cold weather? Okay.
No, that's not gonna, cold weather's not gonna affect putting them in.
The flagpole, they don't need to, they're gonna wait on that?
That's in,
Oh, it's in?
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
yeah,
Yep, flag's up.
yep.
And I talked with Jeff today about putting the light on, the spotlight on the flag too, because the other one doesn't quite get to it.
And we need that other one to light the stairs, so,
Yes. Couple new lights wouldn't hurt.
yep.
I mean, change orders happen, and these seem to be legitimate.
It's not outrageous.
No, it's not.
No,
And
But
it
we're
is
not
stuff
paying this till the railings are up, right?
right.
till completion, right?
What's that?
We're not paying this final invoice till the railings are
This
up.
isn't the final invoice. This is invoice 3.
Right, but we're not paying it until the railings are up, right?
The railings are, the cost of the railings are not included in this estimate. They're be included in the final estimate.
So we're gonna have 4 invoices. This is invoice 3,
This is
and then
invoice
the
3.
final invoice.
There'll be one more, which will be the.
This is the
final.
one we're holding right now that we have been holding for.
That one you released
Oh,
on the
we
5th,
released
so
that,
that
that's
one's
right.
gone.
Yeah,
kidding.
the last meeting.
So we owe them this now.
We owe him this now. And everything is done except the railing. What he probably does not have in here is what he had to pay his concrete person to be up there.
I'm confused, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
So,
am too.
we owe them 25,000 plus when the railings are installed, we're gonna owe him more,
Okay, right today, if you approve the change order,
right?
then you owe him $17,089.44 today. The balance of his bid plus the change order is 25,700. So his next estimate could be for 25,700, which would be the final one.
Hey, let's pay this one and fight with them on the last one.
But we're not paying him until the railings are in on the last
Yes,
one.
on the last
right?
one.
No,
Yes.
really,
Not till
he hadn't
we're-
put it in, it's not
Right.
included.
Yeah.
I mean, when Jay reviewed, if you look at the items of the percent complete on the second page of the estimate, it shows what's 100% complete, what's 60% complete, what's 0% complete.
Oh, I see, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So the flag, well, they're saying the flagpole isn't complete yet, and general conditions were still 20% to go.
Yeah, see, they didn't have the flagpole in
Right.
when they made up this estimate.
Right.
Okay.
So, do you need a motion for that?
Motion to approve the change order, and then a motion to approve the number 3, because I didn't put it in your stack of regular bills.
Motion to approve the change order and payment number 3.
Second.
White Construction.
Second. So, oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Is you
okay.
there? Yep. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Takes care of that. Both of those. Renovations.
Everybody got the letter from Ed Clark? And he explained where the extras took place and how they did. He did send me an email and said he would be happy to meet with the board anytime this week that they wanted to get together, or representatives of the board. Whether you wanted to have 2 people to talk with him, whether you want to wait until your next regular meeting. The big thing is you've got 2 different cost estimates, pages in there. One is the one that I got on November 1st, which jumped the price from $330 to $465. And then I put them all into one budget columns on the last estimate as to which one we're going. His recommendation is that if you're gonna go out for a bond issue, add the other 40,000 into the bond issue. Now, whether that's gonna be saleable or not, that's something else. The final column on that second sheet, and what Celia reminded me is we have 50,000 in the building fund today. And we've got 15,000 in the equipment replacement fund. So we got 65,000 in cash sitting in reserve funds right now that could be used for this project. If you take his last estimate, which is 421,000, and you take off the bond money, the 50,000 in the building fund, the 15,000 in the equipment fund, you're short 26,000. My question to him was, would he dare to go to bid to see what you get for a bid, knowing that we think we're short 26,000? Or do you go for a bond issue for some number?
So I think we need to start rethinking, and I hate to be the one to say this, but we're looking at 200 to 1,000 plus to put in a lift.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean-
Let's cancel the lift and,
I think we need to look at the fact that people can join meetings by phone, we could always move to a different location. I mean, there are a lot of different options, and I don't know that I can justify, look at my fellow residents and say, we want to spend all this money for this one thing.
I agree. I would like to see a new set of stairs put up, the new entrance, get rid of the little narrow
Yeah,
stairs
yeah.
inside, but
That's not gonna cost $250,000.
cancel the elevator.
Okay, so, but we went to the voters, and that's what the voters approved the bond for, is all for
True.
that. So we can't just say, let's nix it.
No, but I'm not going back to the voters and asking for more.
No.
Well, I know, but we also said you voted for this
Yes.
is what you wanted, so this is the money we've expended.
Yeah,
So we need to
Right.
come up with something.
we just did.
Well, but I think when we initially proposed this, we were gonna do all of this with surplus money. I mean, it wasn't even gonna be a bond expenditure, when it was just the first floor.
Right, but once it became with the lift.
Right.
But that's what
Yeah,
the voters
voters.
voted on.
Yeah,
That's what they wanted. So I think we owe it to go back and say, do you want to expend?
That's what I'm saying is,
Is the $26,000, and we put the lift in.
Boy, I see that, we gotta add in a 20% overrun here, because how much has this gone up since we've been talking about it?
He keeps going up.
Yes.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's why, it's like he should be here, because my question isn't, should this town pay more? My question is, why did you go up in price
That much.
every month? Like, a lot. I mean, it's
Especially we
$100,000.
We had this conversation with him at that special meeting on this. We had that conversation about not going over the bond.
Right. And I'm still frustrated with the fact that they didn't sit down with the, historical preservation
Right.
and just say, what do you need for us to be compliant? And then design around that, instead of, here's a
Exactly.
drawing, that doesn't work, here's another drawing, that doesn't work.
They've expended a lot of money on bonds.
Presumably, that's what your section 106 Scott Newman did on a very frequent basis, from the time that they said no to just the standalone lift to get up to the porch, to no to having a structure on the front
Right.
portion of the building, pushing it to the back, and then when you got to the back, then it was,
you gotta breach a wall.
we had to, the location of the openings where existing windows, where existing window was upstairs, which again lengthened out the size of the structure, made changes in the downstairs as well. It just kept much
Oh, I know,
really-
but I don't think it should have gotten to 5 designs before they came to an agreement.
Well,
Exactly.
The answer
We paid
is,
for 5 designs.
I believe from our Scott Newman's dealings, was, do you want 100,000? If you don't want their 100,000, then you can do whatever you want, without having to go to historic preservation. I mean, they're still gonna rag on you for doing something.
Yeah.
yeah.
But they won't have any control over what you do, I don't think. They may still have control
Yeah,
over
I
you.
think they do.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get.
And we'd be right back where we are anyway, so if we didn't take the 100,000, right?
Well, I mean, your bond issue does not anticipate the 100,000. All that does is reduce the amount that you actually sell,
So, okay.
whatever you get. And it's up to 100,000, and I use 100,000, but it could be something less than that. But,
That was part of our selling point, though.
was this, you're gonna get $100,000, and you're gonna only have to pay back 230,000.
Yes.
I mean, even if we use the building fund and equipment fund, the 45,000, it's like, why can't, what can they do to make it back to that 330? That's what I want.
What can you do as a select board
No, what can they do as our architects?
or architects to get it back to 230,000?
Yeah,
Eliminate the stairs and just put in a lift? Eliminate the, taking out the inside stairs and using them? I don't know. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Is what can they do to get you back to the 330,000? And he's gonna say, you're not gonna get what people are asking for, which is giving up your potential, grant. But I can't speak to the, what he can do to get it down there, because I don't think he can.
Well, let's ask the question, and let's try to get the information so we can look at it next week again.
and can he be here?
Great, but I'd like to see the information before he's here, too.
Oh, yeah.
At a full board and not representative of the board.
Yeah, I
think so.
think with,
I think that would be.
yeah.
Good. Yeah, we'll quiz them a little bit, see what we can do.
Next week or next
Yeah.
meeting?
Next meeting?
But if we
But
get
the
the
information,
information,
information ahead of time,
Ahead of
but
time.
have him here to answer the questions.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think you're right, that we've gotta, we told the voters we're gonna have a lift in there, and yes, not a
Mom
fun
said it
thing.
would be easy.
Okay. Junk vehicles?
37 East Street has been shielded, screened, covered. So it's got a cover over the top of the car. The other one that I'm waiting for is...
That cover?
What's that?
You see the cover?
Yeah.
Okay.
I drove down there.
Blue tarp.
Blue tarp.
Attractive.
I'm waiting for the sheriff's department's reports on the other ones. And then we will have a meeting with it. They said they had 25 the last time we heard from them, but that was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You know, that police report, you know, we drove on every street in town twice. Okay, so why aren't they, you know, doing some of the stuff they're threatening to do?
I don't know.
Okay.
Can we ask?
Because we've definitely paid for it.
Well, I mean, we asked them to do a few cars, and then they said, no, we're gonna do them all. So, all right, do them all. You know,
Well,
we don't
right,
care.
Yeah.
but it's in their report. So we've paid for them to.
I thought the
peruse.
last time when, I don't even know if they were here or not, and we talked about it, the direction comes from you in terms of someone files a complaint that there's a car.
That's what we've
And
always
then-
done.
Yeah, so if they're driving by and just see a car, they're not gonna know if it's,
But no, they
they're doing their
emailed
point
Stan the
about-
last one that he reported and said, we don't like doing this piecemeal, we're gonna drive around and make a list. of all
right, I
of them."
remember that, but I don't think they go knock on the door and say,
Right.
car's parked out here.
So Stan, can you ask for that list, please?
Yeah, they've certainly.
That's what I would
it's in
have
there.
been looking
Right.
for.
Yeah.
And what they do is they pull the plate number, run it
Yep.
through motor vehicles. They know it's not inspected or registered because, just by standing in front of it.
Yep.
And then they come up with who the owner is. What we send is the notice goes to the property owner.
Right.
It does not go to the vehicle owner.
But again, can you email Steve and say, can we have this list that these guys have made, please?
Now, the woman on 37 East Street is requesting that the select board waive the $100 fee because she has now so-called complied with the requirement.
This the one that screened it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't consider that screened. You know, putting a little tiny blue tarp over the roof of the car is, you know, and the car's still showing and sitting there. That's not screened.
That's screening.
Nope.
But she was already ticketed too, right?
Yeah, she's been ticketed. She got a $100 ticket.
So, I mean,
And
there's,
what she was asking
you had her
for,
14 days or however long it is, so.
but she's, you know, she is asking the select board to waive the ticket, the $100,
Because they put a $8 blue tarp
because she's
over it.
coming to compliance.
I don't consider that
Oh,
screened.
I will pass the word along to her that you did not waive the $100 fee, and you're concerned that her method of compliance is not necessary. When I spoke with her, I said, one of these tarps that is for covering cars. And I think what's there is the hardware store blue tarp.
Yeah, I mean, we accepted the portable garage down on,
Yes,
you know, that's
because you
fine.
can't, because you can't see it. yes.
Exactly, yeah.
Which is what she's saying, is you can't see the vehicle.
Right.
Tarp.
I can see it.
So, but my point would also be that whether it was properly screened or not, she got a warning, she had a certain amount of time, and she got the ticket. That's like me saying, I was speeding, but I'm going slower now, so can I not pay the fee? I mean,
I agree.
That's
the
what
same
I
thing.
was thinking.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah. It's a good analogy.
All right.
Yes.
I will pass the word back is that the select board is not going to waive the ticket.
Right.
And there is a question as to whether you are properly screened. I mean, if she'd have taken the blue tarp, drove 2 poles and put it in front of him, you couldn't see it from the road.
Well, I guess we'd have to decide what screening is.
Well, screening, yeah, that's what I was talking about at the last meeting. What is screening? Is it covering the vehicle? Is it building a building around it, which has been done? We've had vehicles covered, which have been done with car covers, shaped like cars, yeah. Or build a wall in front of it, fence in front of it, so you can't see it from the road or from your neighbors.
I would consider that screened.
That's screening, yeah.
So maybe we need to add the definition of screened into junk vehicle.
I was
So
just
we have all
thinking
set
of
of
that.
definitions. Screened is not in there.
That's what I was thinking too.
Well, we never, somebody's always got to push it.
Yeah.
Well, there's always a reason why somebody's pushing something, whether it's a good reason or not. What you also have is the outdoor
Free stuff.
display or storage of discarded items, junk and junk vehicles.
Display.
This is Alan's shot at putting in blue what he thought you were looking for. And he's put in the definitions for discarded items and display as to what they are. And I think we put in 5 days. And that's open for discussion by the
Yeah, that
board.
was even shorter than I think we
I think-
said, but that's fine.
At one time I heard 48 hours. And then we thought that that was, you know, from
Too
Sunday
short.
night till Wednesday.
I think realistically 5 days,
5 days.
That's fine with me.
Yeah.
5 calendar days.
And I like the in any 3-month period, because
That takes care of the one that shows up
Get back
every
to work.
month.
Yes.
So if you are happy with that, I will put it into final form, or if you want to adopt it tonight in the form that it's in, and we'll do a hard copy for signature.
I don't see why we can't adopt it tonight.
well, I think we need to fix the screen.
Well, but it does, actually, I take back my statement. It
What
does
does it
kind of
say?
define it. Page 4. Paragraph B. Such items shall also be screened from the view of the abutting landowner as seen from any portion of the abutter's land used on a regular basis. Screened from view, I think is a lot more specific than screened. It means you can't see it. And putting a tarp over it doesn't mean you can't see it, it doesn't completely cover the car. Just my 2 cents.
With that,
Yeah.
Okay. I'd look an old car than a
I know.
Blue tarp.
yeah, you know what the blue tarp's gonna look like shortly.
Yeah.
White. Be all right.
So, I mean, I think I think this is ready.
I can live with that, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
agree.
the blue line is what you were
Yeah.
looking for.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fair motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'll get a clean copy for signatures.
That's good within 30 days.
Yeah. Well, it takes 60 days before it
60
comes
days.
into effect.
Right.
Yeah.
So it'll be there for next spring season.
Alrighty.
Okay. Budget.
Okay, I just put budget in.
Yeah,
What
just to keep it there.
I've got 2 more that I'm gonna be sending out to you. I've got some 3-ring binders that put them in, and what I'll do is put everything I've got into it,
Thank you.
so you don't worry about what you've got now, and I'll give you a new set. I got Celia's today, I've got the fire departments. The next one, I'm waiting for the police department to get back to me, but I know what he's gonna say, 3%. Carrie, did you talk about the next year's fee at your last meeting?
Like Kelly, solid waste, our budget's the same. We're trying to keep it the same, so it'll be the same fee for every time.
'Cause that's what you told me before, and then somewhere I ran into Mike, Mark, not Mike, and said something about it, he said, well, I don't know yet, because he's new to the game. So, Did you reaffirm that your budget, that this is what you're gonna be charging for tonnage?
We have not passed the budget yet, but we do not see any big changes.
Okay, so you did it.
Members, 2 members of the solid waste district. I should add that.
What do you mean, they weren't all there?
Well, I'm talking about people that aren't members of the solid waste
Oh.
district and people that are members, so. I have to be specific as to that.
Yes.
Anyway, that number could make a difference if you were going from 113 to 120, as far as budget is concerned. I'm meeting with Park and Rec tomorrow night, and we'll go through their budgets, and we'll put those together. I've got most of well, we know what the charities are gonna be, because unless they ask for a change, we've had 2 inquire as to how to get into the list. And I've explained to them they gotta come in by petition on the first time. And the assessments by most of the organizations are pretty well known. I don't have letters from them. The court system, I won't see that one probably till the middle of December to support the county court. But I will follow through and get your books to you with what I've got done and what I get done, pieces, punch pieces. Then hopefully by the 1st of December, you'll have everything you need. Hopefully we'll get the insurance premium. That's the other one I'm waiting for.
Yeah.
Is the insurance premium. But essentially, the property insurance is gonna go down. But I've been told that it's gonna be less than it was last year. So if I budget what was there last year, and don't put an increase on it, we should be in good shape.
Yeah.
Wow. Made my day, something went down.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Town manager search, where are we, Judy?
I haven't gotten back, I'm sorry, back from the league. They haven't given me any details on templates and stuff. I mean, I have access to them myself if I want to go on there, but she hasn't run down and everything. And I've asked her a series of questions like, what's the process, how much involvement do you want, if we want to limit the budget so that we're not doing extensive search beyond New England, things like that. So I'll follow up with them again tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yes, anything on the budget that was in the packet that you have?
We have risk analysis also.
Oh,
that's right.
yeah, let's get that. Thank you, Stan. Yeah. The risk analysis, this is something that the auditors have been after us for a while to do, and that was on the table tonight.
I don't quite understand what a fraud risk assessment is. Is there a contractor that does this, or?
This is what, the next page is the proposal from the contractor.
I had to
I have
ask.
sent that back to the league with a question as to whether the scope is reasonable and whether the price, when you look at it, you kind of choke,
Yes.
is reasonable.
I would expect an awful lot for,
For $44,000.
$5,800.
I mean,
Is this a one-off, or, because it establish the tools and provide training for the implementation, so is that once and done, or? That's my first question.
Once and done.
Once and done?
do they come back every quarter?
No, this is, but he'll come in, and I haven't compared him to what I've done in other places, but risk analysis, and this is with nonprofits. Essentially, they come in and they'll talk to you, they'll talk to everybody, they'll talk to me, they'll talk to Celia, they'll talk to Rhoda. And one of the questions will be, if you were going to try to steal something, how would you do it? Where is the gap in our accounting system which might allow you to do it? But they ask the people, if you were gonna do it, who know how to do it, or know the book
Better
system.
than, yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
If you were gonna do it, how would you do it? But as I say, I've sent this off to the league to see if this is a reasonable scope. It just the scope looked good until I got to the dollars.
Well, it just takes one embezzler to
Yes.
every penny of that. and
Yeah,
then
that
some.
would be a small,
Yeah.
really,
So the question is,
small
the
amount.
proposal is in front of you, whether you wish to accept the proposal or whether you wish to, and this is the only one that responded to me.
Well, it sounds like they can do it in December, so let's see what the League of Cities and Towns says. And if you can get that information to us, and then we can act on it.
Yeah,
I'd like
If
to
it
know
could
what
be
the
done in
league
a month.
says.
yeah, I think it's
The league doesn't have a program?
No, I
like
didn't send it to the league, I
That's
sent
what
it
I
to
was
the
gonna
auditors.
auditors.
I sent it to,
Okay, so
I
let's
sent
see.
it to the auditor, I
let's see what
didn't
the
send it to
auditor
the
said.
league.
Yeah.
The auditor, as to whether it's in a reasonable scope.
The league doesn't have a program like this?
No. They have a model policy, but they don't have the assessment.
And it's the auditors that are telling us that we should do this.
The auditors,
anyways.
there's 5 things that showed up in the audit report. This was one of them. I felt this was one of the easier ones to get done so we could check something off. The other is the office policy, which we have a draft of. You haven't seen it yet. We got it updated a little bit so that we could tick off 2 of them off of their list.
Great.
In the year. All I did was give you 1 page which had the risk on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, see what they've got to offer and go. Yeah, the budget reports, anything, any questions on anything that's read?
No.
Good. Sheriff's Department. You see they're spending some time over at the five-way intersection. And,
The only question I have on that is 5 o'clock at night.
yes. So it's,
5:30, actually.
Stay
yeah,
after.
yeah.
Or 4:30.
Would you, you were
Was
gonna
it
talk to the
Triple T
sheriff
Club?
about something anyway, weren't you?
Could have been.
Ask him about the car in the river, what's November 1st?
Oh.
What he's asking, what, you know,
That's,
Don't
the
we have to
last
get
one,
that out
Bruce
of there?
talked with him the last time.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to him since last week.
He hadn't heard anything from,
What I was gonna suggest, you declare it a junk vehicle, and then we send a letter to the governor and tell him to get it out of there. You got 30 days,
Throw a tarp over it.
Screen it.
because that's the waters of the state, right?
it is,
Yes, it is.
yes, it is.
yeah, it isn't.
I wanna
our-
go climbing around up through it, the
Aren't
property.
they still like investigating it though? Like,
That's the last I
They-
heard, but that was.
they
the
haven't
big-
checked the car out to see if,
They know who it belongs to and all that sort of jazz, but,
Well, they must by now, yeah.
and
I
the
know,
guy
but-
has no insurance on it.
All right, let's rattle the governor's cage, see what happens.
Let me talk with the sheriff to see if it's gonna be moved before spring, but if it's not gonna be moved before spring, you may wanna take some action to say that it will be moved, or we'll start charging you $100 a day.
There you go.
Can also get in touch with Angie at the Otter Creek Basin, because I'm pretty sure that that's not environmentally sound in there.
But, you know, he went up to a couple different offices in Montpelier and didn't get any response back.
Well, we can get our hand slapped for cutting berry bushes around Beaver
Yeah,
Pond.
right,
and-
yes. And,
We talked to our representatives, if that'll help.
Well, I think too that it needs to be moved because it's a future danger. It is absolutely a future danger. In the spring when that floods and it goes downstream, upstream, whatever you want to call it, I think that's a potential danger to other communities and people and animals.
I think we just need to determine whose responsibility it is.
Yes, yes,
yeah,
As long as it's not ours.
yes.
yes, yeah.
I would say it's a current danger since the sheriff chose to say that it's still in the water. And so we have frequent visitors and
Yeah,
tourists
that's
here
true.
Yeah.
to walk down the path and to look at it. And those that are not well acclimated to the path, by the time you get to where it is It's very narrow and very treacherous, particularly like on days like this. And it was rather disappointing, in my opinion, as someone was here on the day, that the manner in which the sheriff department acted and the time it took them to show up. Since they were in town, I would give kudos to the Proctor Fire Department, who were here right on, down there doing, everything within their power, and state police. But for the deputy that was in town and the manner in which they managed the area here, it was quite disappointing. People were allowed to continue to go down the path in the dark. They did not tape off the area. Kids were walking down there, and they were on site. I think their level of professionalism was very, very limited on that particular day.
So maybe we should contact the state police to see what the status is of the case and then say, because we can't remove it unless we have authority to remove it.
We don't want to get involved.
We shouldn't have.
We don't have any, we don't
I
have
know, but we
any.
may have to.
Right, I know.
We may have to, it might be the town's
Because
responsibility.
the state police were here and they didn't do much, from what I saw.
Somebody's got to give somebody authority to do
Well,
it.
right, who's investigating?
Huh?
Who's investigating? Which law enforcement agency is investigating this?
The sheriff's department.
That it's the sheriff's department that we should.
I think it's the state police. Yeah, I'll invest, yeah. Well, I mean, unless there's no body, so.
Hopefully. I know a trooper I can ask him.
I can ask the fire department too, because they're the ones that did the water rescue.
Yeah.
They must get some report.
Sometime, you mentioned town report, as to start thinking about what you would like on the cover of the town report. Do you want that car?
Yeah.
Mascot.
Do you want the falls of the town report?
The falls.
Sands car. We'll put a tarp over it. I move to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is it?